Welcome to Real Money Talks. Real strategies from the moneymakers and the world changers that you can use to make millions, keep those millions, multiply your wealth, and build your team. Here's your host, author of 5 New York Times bestsellers, money expert on Dr. Phil, CNN, CNBC, The Street TV, Fox News, and The View, Laurel Langmeyer.
Hi, this is Laurel, and welcome back to Laurel's Real Money Talks. We're talking about, in this podcast, how to make money, how to keep money, how to get it invested, and probably most critical, how do you really start working with a team when you weren't conditioned or trained to do that? You know, we're trained to be employees, not entrepreneurs. So you got a lot of unlearning and new learning to do. And my guest today is Ron LeGrand, who's been a mentor, a friend, and we just have the exact same thinking. I shouldn't say there's only one way to become a millionaire to make a lot of money, but there's a system that all of us follow. So, Ron, welcome to Laurel's Real Money Talks.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Well, so I want you to just share your background. I mean, you've always been in real estate. I think you, above everyone, has stood the test of time. But talk a little bit for my listeners who are all over the world and sometimes in more of a tech space or just a different space that don't know you.
Okay, so I stood the test of time. What you're trying to say is that I'm old? Is that what you're telling me?
No, you're just damn good.
Some people call me Moses. I've been around so long. But you know what? Like most people, including yourself, I started out with nothing, knowing nothing, having nothing. And, something clicked. And I decided one day after being 35 years old, I didn't want to do this for the rest of my life. I was a mechanic in a service station and couldn't even buy my wife a new wash machine. And I just woke up one morning and said, enough of this nonsense. So I went out and started looking, and what I found was real estate, and it has served me well. And for the last 36 years, I've been buying and selling it and buying and keeping some and teaching others to do the same thing. And like you, have made millionaires all over the planet and continue to do to this very day, because real estate is a vehicle, and it's just one of vehicles. I'm a firm believer in multiple income streams, just like you are. And I know that both of us would get bored as hell if we only had one thing to do in life. So I, like you, have multiple businesses. And I also, like you, have learned to get the heck out of the way and let other people do what they do best so we can do what we do best. And that's watch them and replace them when necessary and let them build businesses around themselves. So we've done the same thing with real estate. In fact, real estate today is more systemized and automated than it's ever been since the beginning of time. And we built systems that are so easy for people to walk in and just take them step by step and follow the instructions and job out everything. We even have a whole floor of virtual assistants that do all the hard grunt work for them and call sellers for them and do all that stuff that they don't want to do, so that us real estate entrepreneurs can sit back and do what we're supposed to do, and that's make decisions. And that's what I teach, Laurel. Your job is to make decisions. Let other people do everything else. And that's why I still buy 2 or 3 houses a month. I'm telling you, in an osmosis state, literally in a coma, because it doesn't take any of my time. I don't spend 3 hours a month in real estate right now, and still can make more money buying a few houses a month than most people. I mean, most people make slaving working 50 hours a week all year long. So real estate has been very good to me, but like any other business, you have to learn to do it correctly. And like most everything else you get into, it's nothing like you think it is. When you get into it and get behind the scenes and learn from the people who are actually doing it, not those who are talking about what they've never done, it becomes a whole new vehicle. Because in my world, on Planet Ron, we call it, we don't write checks, we don't guarantee debt, we don't take stupid risk, we don't go begging up for banks for money and do all those things that most people think come along with real estate.
All right, so let's break all that down. And the thing I always really want to start with is today's real estate market. So what's your outlook on it? Is it going to be a market correction? I love how a lot of people are living in 2008 as if it was yesterday. It was 10 years ago, folks, and we've had a market run that's been extraordinary. So what do you see really is going on in the overall real estate market to the United States specifically?
All right. Well, first of all, I've been at this for 36 years, and I've seen 5 cycles, ups and downs. Of course, 2008 was the worst one. There's never been one of those years where we couldn't buy and sell houses, including now. In fact, it's a hot market all over the country right now. So what? It doesn't stop us from doing what we do. And in fact, in some cases, it's a big advantage. As far as what will happen, I can absolutely assure you there'll be a correction, because there always is one. We just don't know exactly when. Of course, there's a whole lot of opinions out there, as there always will be, most of them worth what they cost. So what I tell my folks is, quit worrying about having a recession and make sure there's not one in your house when it comes. And we do that by, A, not guaranteeing debt. because that's the biggest mistake you can make. Literally, the number one biggest mistake is guaranteeing debt. Because we can buy all the houses we want without guaranteeing debt. Why on earth would anybody want to go to the bank and apply for a loan and guarantee that debt? So here's the important thing. When we are able to buy houses without guaranteeing debt, we have no personal liability. There's nothing on our credit report. So the worst can happen in a downturn is we lose assets that we literally got for free anyway. The truth is that's not going to happen, because if you'll look back to 2008, like here in Florida, our real estate values took a 40% drop, like almost overnight. But the good news is the rents didn't. The rents didn't. In fact, some places they went up. So if I'm not forced to sell when the other downturn comes, then I'll just glide through the next correction. And when the values come back up, if and when I want to sell, I can get out. Most people getting into this business are hell bent on getting the house, getting a check, cashing out, killing the golden goose, killing the wealth building vehicle that they've already got in their possession, because they're just so hell bent on getting that check. Now, we get checks anyway, but we don't have to pay taxes on those checks because the taxes aren't due until that. We put tenant buyers in houses and collect big multi-$1,000 non-refundable deposits, option deposits, and until they cash out, that's not even taxable. So we get paid monthly on the monthly spread between what they pay us and what we pay out to the sellers, and then we get money on the back end. So literally, to me, real estate is just a mutual fund with a house on it. We don't put money in to buy it. We actually buy the real estate to generate money. And that's hard for some people to internalize, especially those who have just no clue what this business is really like. I mean, you'll have a hard time explaining this to your CPA. They think you got to write a check to get a check. Well, we buy real estate without writing a check so that we can get a check. And then we can take that check and do all kinds of cool things with it, including a lot of the stuff that you're into. I know you're heavy into cannabis right now. Well, I am too. I mean, I love the cannabis industry. I love the idea that we got a whole new burgeoning industry right before our eyes, and it's going to come and grow, and but we got to free up some capital. And we free up capital by letting the real estate generate the money that we can take. I'm buying a lot of cannabis stocks right now. I'm into this cannabis thing. I don't smoke it. I tried it once. That was enough. It was on my bucket list. I was traveling through Colorado with my 18-year-old grandson, and he gave me a pot seminar, and I went into the store and bought a brownie, and it tastes crappy. I don't want any more of that stuff. But I do know why people buy it, Laurel. Taking that thing a couple hours later, wah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, I get it.
So talk to the person, and even in a down market, I think, again, wherever you're positioned, you can always make money in real estate. So talk about the systems, and if you were going to put some steps to it. So our listeners are saying, all right, Laurel and Ron say, go do this.
All right.
You can include a bunch of mistakes or myths, because I think there's a ton. And like you said earlier, there's so much automation in this space. I mean, blockchain technology is taking over a lot of the work and the transactional work, making it simple. So I'm listening to this and I say, well, real estate's always been hard, or I've never done it well. How would you walk somebody through getting going?
I mean, any business that you start or buy is going to be hard if you don't do it well and if you don't get out of your own way, and that's the whole key. So here's the 5 steps to buying. Frankly, there's 5 steps to any business. Number 1, you got to locate prospects, because if you don't do that, you don't need to worry about the other 4 steps. You don't have a business. We have a whole system set up that does all that for you. I mean, frankly, locating prospects never been easier. It's not a matter of locating them anymore. It's a matter of following up on them. Step number 2 is pre-screen those prospects. Our virtual assistants do most of that for us. And then step 3 is construct and present offers. And we don't even do that anymore. We just call a seller and read a script to them, which asks them questions and let them construct and present offers to us. Ask them things like, what's the least you could take if we could agree upon the terms? And we usually buy with nothing down. And that's either a yes or a no question. And if the answer is no, then okay, what's the least you take down? And what's the lowest you could take per month? Because in our world, we buy houses in beautiful neighborhoods that come with terms, and only those that come with terms. So we have to separate out all the people who want cash, which is most of the market, and deal with a few who want terms. Like any other business, we're dealing with the few, not the many, the minority, not the majority, no matter what your product or service is. So step 3 is let the sellers tell us if they want to play or not. Step 4, follow up, get it in writing. And step 5, get it into cash quickly, close quickly. So those 5 steps apply buying, and they also apply selling. But the good news is that the entire buying process is now automated. What we don't do for them, we have other companies that do, like answering a telephone 24 hours a day on both the buying and the selling side. So all that's left for me to do as a real estate entrepreneur is decide who I want to buy from and agree with the terms that the seller has offered me. And when I'm selling, I decide who's got enough money to satisfy me to cover my non-refundable option deposit when I lease option the property to them. And I'll tell you, those start for me at about $20,000 and go up.
Right. So you have the 5 steps, right? I get it because I've done real estate. The first thing you said is go find prospects. So if they're out there listening and they don't have any systems, how would you get somebody that's sitting, listening, even started?
Okay. Well, for one thing, we have this thing called the Gold Club, which is a membership service. And as a member of that, for a measly $59 a month, we literally will drop for sale by owners in your inbox every single day in the 2 counties that you pick where you live. So we deliver the prospects to you that have a house for sale that are advertising them online. And then our virtual assistants call those prospects for you and fill out the property information sheet. And then you make one call and ask them 4 questions to determine whether they're in or out. And if they're in, exactly what that means in the way of terms. So the PAs do all that work for you, but I got a whole list of other ways to generate leads. You know, it used to be I'd spend $5,000-$6,000 a month just generating sellers. Today, I don't hardly spend anything doing it. It's not about spending today with the advent of technology. It's a matter of using it. So we'll do all of that work for you, but there's other ways. There's plenty of other ways. There's FSBO signs in front of houses all over the place. Of course, you run all the ads you want. Our VAs run I Buy House ads all over the internet for our folks, and they cost nothing. So it's not about getting leads. I'm telling you, I can have 50 leads. I can have 50 for sale by owners on your desk in 2 days if I want to. But then you got to be able to call them and make that call and make the appointment when necessary. And what it comes down to is you'll call 10, 15 sellers a week and visit 3 or 4 houses a month. And frankly, most people are happy with 1 or 2 or 3 deals a month. And that's an easily a 6-figure income per month, not per year, per month. If we're dealing in nice houses and nice neighborhoods, $250,000 or up. And by the way, there is no maximum up. I like $1 million, $2 million houses because we buy them without risk. We don't guarantee debt. We don't make promises we can't keep. And we structure them so that we don't have to have our back against the wall and some circumstance that we can't control is going to take us out. By the way, I've been to that seminar. If you want to compare notes, 2008, I had 32 developments going on in 9 states simultaneously, and 2008 hit. Trust me, all that didn't work out. So anybody that took a big loss after 08, we'll compare notes sometime, and I'll bet you I'll make your losses seem very, very small.
I love that, Ron. So let's talk about some of the terms, right? Because you talk all the time and teach no money down, use other people's money. Talk to some of those strategies for the listeners on how they could be achieving that.
Well, look, there's 2 sides of our business. There's an ugly house side and a pretty house side. The ugly house side is all about price. We got to buy it at a deeply discounted price, probably renovate it, and then sell it. That's what most people think real estate is all about. That's what all the TV shows are all about. By the way, there's no reality in those shows. So don't even think about learning anything from those TV shows. They're all fiction. Okay, so that's the ugly house side. Then there's the pretty house side, which is a synonym for terms. No terms, no deal. So in the beautiful home side, which are, by the way, there's 50 times more pretty houses than there are ugly ones. Well, that side of the business, I'm only looking for the people who give me terms. Our virtual assistants ask them when they have them on the telephone, would you take a monthly payment until we can pay you off in full? If the answer is yes, that gives us a reason to believe that we should be talking terms with them. By the way, 1/3 of the people that we get on the telephone say yes to that question. 1/3, believe it or not. Some people are under the impression that everybody's got to sell their house. They got to have cash and you want top retail price. Well, that's true for most of them, but we only need 1 or 2 or 3 a month to creep through the bottom. So the goal is to look for the people who give us great terms. And my favorite terms are nothing down, a low monthly payment, and get some free equity in it. I mean, we're not stealing houses in the pretty house businesses, but we do buy them a little below market, sometimes a lot below market, but nowhere near the price we'd pay if we're paying all cash. In the pretty house business, we don't pay all cash. We get terms. There's only 3 types of terms. Number 1, we can lease it with an option to buy from the seller. Or number 2, we can get the seller to owner finance it for us, which means the seller becomes the bank and we just make them a payment until we pay them off. And our number 3, they can just deed us the house and go away, which we call taking title subject to the underlying debt. In other words, sometimes people don't care about whatever the equity they got. They just want to get out of the debt. So they'll just sell you the house, give it to you, and walk away. And debt stays in their name, and you make payments until you get it paid off. I have people all over the country who bought millions of houses just that way. So one of those things are applicable to this particular situation, then we have a potential terms deal. And again, it's just a matter of generating a lead, calling the lead, reading a simple script, and working with the people who want to work with us and whack the rest at lightning speed.
So talk about IRA money. This is another source of funding. And there is, upward of $1 trillion of IRA types of qualified money.
There are multiple trillions of dollars sitting in IRAs looking for a place to be. All right, well, the IRA is a beautiful gift given to us by the IRS, the Roth IRA especially, because it's tax-free, not tax-deferred like the traditional. And I work hard to get my people to use IRAs to buy the property. And everything that I do can be done inside the IRA, or it can be done outside. And we encourage people to do deals inside. What they do mostly with the IRA is to use that money that they generate to pay cash for some houses that they get at a deeply discounted price and flip them either as is or after the rehab, make a profit, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and it all goes in the IRA tax free. That's what I do with my IRA, Laurel. My IRA writes checks to pay cash for houses. The rate of return is outrageous. I mean, it's really outrageous, but it's an active return. It's not a passive return. When it's an active return, your return should be outrageous. When it's a passive return, a double-digit return is fine, but not for an active, not for people who get in the game. As you well know, and no way I'm going to invest money and do the work for a lousy 10% rate of return. Maybe 100% rate of return, but not 10% rate of return. So let's say my IRA buys a property, pays $100,000 for it, spends $25,000 fixing it, and sells it for $200,000. Well, my IRA can do that, and all that profit has to go in there tax-free forever. Some people are under the impression that you can only put $6,000 a year in your IRA, and that's true. You can only contribute $6,000 a year, but there's no limit how much profit your IRA can make. And then using real estate, we can take $100 for an earnest money deposit and tie up a property with it, flip that property, make $20,000 on it, and there's $20,000 goes into your IRA tax-free forever. Try to explain that one to your accountant.
Exactly. So, Ron, what do you say to the folks who only have 20, 30, 40? What are some strategies where they don't have 100 to do, their first deal? What are some of the strategies you teach people about getting that first start?
A lot of people come to me, they don't have the money, or they don't take money. Again, let's go back to the terms business. I don't need money to buy a house with nothing down. And by the way, every time we do a live seminar, we actually buy houses in front of them while they watch, with sellers agreeing they'll take nothing down. One of the questions we ask them, we usually buy with nothing down, okay? You will be shocked at how many people say yes. Just say yes. Okay, well, if they say yes, I'm okay with that. And then I ask the class, how many of you can raise this down payment, which is nothing. So we just got a free house. So that doesn't take money in the terms business. Now, if I'm going to go buy houses and pay cash for them, I'm going to get all that money from a private lender. That's somebody like you or I that's happy to get a high rate of return on their money, and high rate of return today is only 7 or 8%, which is 14 times more than what people get in their bank account. But it's not our money. And that's where a lot of the IRA money, and most of the IRA money, back when I was borrowing money from private lenders, came from people's IRAs. What a great use of it. Low loan-to-value loans, safely secured by the property, closed with an attorney, getting 7 or 8, 9% rate of return, and it's very, very safe. That property's not going anywhere. So, again, people think you need money to buy real estate. Not true. Absolutely not true. You don't need anybody's money in the pretty house business. And if you're going to do the ugly house side, you use private lenders, which is a whole society of folks looking for a place to get a higher rate of return on their money. It's easy to find private money once you start opening your mouth, which, by the way, is the hardest part, Laurel. And that's starting.
But you give people, I think of all you've done. So first of all, I want to go back and just big exclamation point on TV shows. I've been in Dr. Phil's Money Expert. I've been on all the TV shows. And I'll never forget the day I decided, is it really worth it or not? Because I was with Dr. Phil and his executive producers, and we had produced an amazing result for a client, and they said, well, yeah, but America won't believe it. You have to remember, Laurel, you're not in the education business here in TV. You're on the entertainment business. We have to make a story. So all of that. So I'm just glad you said that, because people that spend a ton of money after some celebrity host, because that's really all they are is a celebrity host that's scripted and hoping to God they can do those deals. So I just had to put a big exclamation point on that. So, but a lot of the folks, I'm going to go back to our original conversation, I think it's a mistake for most people, is they don't hire a team. They don't use the systems. What would you tell the folks about that? you said it earlier, the only thing you should be doing as the entrepreneur is making decisions. But that's a long walk for somebody who's used to doing everything by themselves. So what's your advice to folks that are solo? I call them lone rangers.
Well, granted, people who are used to working all their lives, swapping hours for dollars, that's a transition they got to make. Frankly, if the pieces are already in place for them, though, it's a lot easier because they don't have to go out and hunt down the right people and train them and so forth. That's why we created a virtual assistant floor. I mean, we've got about 30 virtual assistants that do most of the grunt work for our students, so they don't have to worry about all that crap. And that's anything they do online, anything they do on the telephone, we take care of for them. And in other words, we generate leads for them, and then we call those leads and get them the property information sheets. That's huge because without that, they don't have a business. So what we don't do, we've got other companies to do. We got a company that takes the phone calls, inbound calls for buyers and sellers 24 hours a day, which is also huge because that'll suck up your life dealing with people who are never going to sell you a house or buy you a house. So they take the call and we screen them out quickly before you ever get with them. So the system's already in place. In my world, there's literally nothing else you have to put in place that isn't already there. But transferring from wanting to do everything yourself to letting other people do it is a little harder for some people than others. I find it harder for men than women to do. Just testosterone thing. Because, us men, you know this, Laurel, us men, if it's working absolutely perfectly, it must be fixed.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. So, Ron, we're coming to the end of our podcast. I know you're a gift for folks. We're going to send all of you over, again, our podcast directs to Ask Laurel, AskLoral.com, AskLaurel.com. And you will hear the podcast there as well. You put in your information and get Ron's gift. So what do you want to give him, Ron?
I'll give them all kinds of stuff. For one thing, I just read my entire book, How to Be a Quick Turn Real Estate Entrepreneur in Any Economy. I just read that whole thing onto audio, so they can download that book now. It's an audio book, or they can download the printed version, or they could even order the hard copy if they want to. But it's free, along with a whole audio training thing that I did. It's also free. So just go to the site that you just give them, and that'll take them to a place where they can get all kinds of free stuff from me, and then they can decide what they want to do next. Like you, we have live trainings, we have coaching, we have everything they need if they want to build a business and build a career. We'll help them get as far as they want to go, as fast as they want to go. And like you, a lot of years in this industry of doing and teaching will make that path a lot simpler for them because they chose to follow someone who actually does what they teach and not just teaches what they've hardly ever done, which unfortunately there's a ton of those out there, aren't there?
Oh, it's way too many. So again, all of you listening, go to Ask Laurel, AskLoral.com. Put in your name, your information. You can ask a question. You can make a request. Ron has a big team, like I have a team. If you want to talk to someone on his team about working with them directly, you can make that request, and we pass that straight over to Ron's team, and you'll get his gift. So any last words of wisdom to our folks? Speak to the international. Our podcast is very international. What would you tell them to do as far as investing in U.S. real estate? Or
I just came off of a cruise up the Rhine, in fact, and real estate is everywhere. But I have a lot of students around the world, but obviously the rules are different in different countries. They're not that hard to learn. But people always need a place. Wherever we go, people always want to sell and other people always want to buy. So if we take the basic principles and we apply it to the country we're in, it works. I mean, I got students all over Canada, all over Australia, New Zealand, and pretty much any English-speaking country that actually does allow consumers to buy real estate. So the business has been around long before anybody I've ever met was born. It'll be around long after we're gone. So people always have to have housing. So it's a good, stable business, not an overnight fad.
Absolutely. Ron, thanks for being on. It's always great to connect with you. And by the way, any of you that ever go to Jacksonville, Florida, my son's going to university, Ron has a great restaurant there. So what's the name of your restaurant, Ron? In case those,
it's called Iggy's Grill and Bar, IGGYS, Iggy's Grill and Bar. Got great food.
Great food. So if you ever head to Jacksonville, Florida, look Ron up and look up his restaurant. And I told Logan you need to bring over the football team. That'll be a good night of revenue for you.
I agree.
The way those kids eat. All right. Thank you. And thanks all of you from all over the world listening to Laurel's Real Money Talks. We'll be back with another episode next week, same time.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Real Money Talks podcast. Your host has been Laurel Langmeyer, author of 5 New York Times bestsellers, money expert on Dr. Phil, CNN, CNBC, The Street TV, Fox News, and The View. Want to learn more about off-Wall Street investing, tax strategies, and multi-million-dollar business strategies? Visit liveoutloud.com/podcast for past episodes, show notes, and resources. For some special wealth-building gifts only for Laurel's podcast listeners, visit liveoutloud.com/podcast gifts. Do you have a burning question for Laurel? Visit asklaurel.com to submit your question, and it may just be covered on a podcast episode. So stay tuned and be sure to subscribe to get new episodes every week.